guys, welcome to Mitch's Music. Today we are going to do She's Got Away by Billy Joel. And I love doing these piano songs and making them for guitar because there aren't a lot of people out there that do it. So if you go and see a singer-songwriter in a bar or at a winery or a coffee shop, a lot of times they're doing strumming. So if you're a guitar player, learning how to do these songs this way can really set you apart. And I'm going to go through the chords, maybe a little bit of the theory behind it, and talk about how you can use this song to learn other songs that are similar to this, because there is a pattern here, and I'm going to point out some of the things that these songs have in common. So let's get started on this one, but before we do, click that subscribe button, and if you enjoy this lesson and you're interested in learning more from me, then you can find out how to do that in the description below. Alright guys, let's get started. I'm going to start by going through the chords for the first section, and there are two main sections. So we'll go through both of them, and I'm going to make it as fast as possible. So with this one, you need to have a pretty good grasp on your chords. So this is not exactly a beginner song. If you follow some of my other videos, you can play this one in a beginner type of way. If you want to get started. But I'm not going to go over that today. This is more for if you know these chords, how you can take the chords that you know and apply them to a song to really get a more full accompaniment and not just do strumming. So let's start with the chords for the first part. So we have a G, a D with an F in the bass, E minor, then a G7, then a C, and that's the first part. Then it goes D, C, D, and I'll go over what those are. Then it does that same thing again. Then at the end of this one, it's going to do G minor, G. Alright, so let's go over that first part, the very first line. So it's just going to go G, D, E minor, G7. Alright, so I'm playing a G7 this way instead of like most of the time when you play a G7. I just like the way this note sounds. This is more of how he plays it on the piano. It's a different sound. It keeps that harmony a little tighter. And then when you resolve, it sounds a little better going to that C. Alright, so that's the reason I do it. And what I'm doing is I'm basically playing a G here, and then I have my third finger on the F of the D string. Alright, and each time I'm kind of plucking with these two fingers. You can totally do this with just the pick. So but if you get used to plucking with two fingers or even just one finger, finding a string or two to play. So for the G, I'm playing the G, the D, and the G. And then I'm going through D, G, B, then D, same thing. E minor, same thing. Then the same thing going into the G7. Then C. Alright, so that's the first little part. Now this part, it's just going to go D, C, D, D. And I'm just doing different inversions to kind of mix it up. So let's talk through those inversions. So you've got just a normal D to begin with. Then I'm going to a C. So it's a C without this third finger. So I'm only playing these D, the G and the B string. Then I'm going to a D with an F sharp in the bass, but just the higher version of it. And so it looks like this, first finger, just like you would on a D chord. The only difference is I'm playing these three strings, the D, the G, and the B, and I've got my third finger on the F sharp on the 4th fret. And then I lift up my third finger. So again, that would go D, C, D. All right, so let's go through the whole thing, and you've got most of the first part. So G, D, E, G7, C, B, C, D, D. Same thing. D, E minor, G7, C, D, D. Then it's going to go to a G minor, and I'm playing the B flat in the bass up here. So what that looks like is it's just like a G chord, but with my first finger, I'm not worrying about the low G string, and I'm just playing my first finger here on the B flat, and make sure that you've got your 3rd and 4th on the 3rd fret of the B and E string, because you don't want that B, you don't want that to play with it. So C, G, so that's G minor, C, G. All right, and that's the first section. So let's run through it again from the beginning. 1, 2, ready, G, D, E minor, G7, C, D, C, D, D, G, D, E minor, G7, C, D, C, D, G minor, C. All right, so that's the first part. Congratulations. That's the hardest part. And one of the things that you want to start realizing with these songs is this is one of the patterns that will repeat from these slower songs. So I'm going to do a song a little later called Me and You that has a similar pattern to this. So let me show you what I'm talking about. And it's this descending bass line. So this G to the F sharp to the E minor. You're going to hear that a lot. And normally you would go to the C after that. But he does the G7. And the reason that G7 works as a theory thing is it leans into that C a little bit more. It's kind of like he's using that G as a secondary dominant going into the C. So he's using that as kind of like a 5/4 going to the C. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, I will do a video on secondary dominance a little bit later. But that is a pattern that you'll see a lot, just that descending line, G, D, E minor. And then after that, it changes a little bit, but that's a pattern that you'll hear. And if you get used to that, it's going to help you learn these songs a little faster by ear. With one of the songs we're going to do a little later, I'm going to show you another pattern that's similar to that with C. All right, so let's move on. So now the chorus is really easy, pretty simple. So it's going to go D, A minor, G, G minor, D, F sharp, 7, B minor, then D7, then G. into that last part. So let's go through it again. D, A minor, G, G minor, D, F sharp 7, B minor, then D7. Alright, so we've got another secondary dominant type thing going from this F sharp 7 to B minor. So that's another theory trick. If you listen to Billy Joel, he uses secondary dominants a lot. So let's talk through this one more time. Pretty simple chords in this one. And the first time I went to that B flat in the for the G minor, but a standard G minor is probably better on this one anyway, so just do that. So let's go through them again. D, A minor, G, G minor, D, F sharp 7, D, B minor, D7, G. Alright, and that's it, guys. That song is pretty easy, and I'm not going to do a play along at the end of this video. I'm going to do something a little different with this one, and you'll see it a little bit later. I'm actually going to cover this song, and so I'm going to have a cover version of this one as well as a play along that you can do with my cover version. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.